What is the roadmap to defeat self-sabotage, negative thinking, and learned helplessness? In these unprecedented times, you must get connected, get growing, get certain, and get attitude. The Get Attitude Podcast. Welcome to the GAP, the Get Attitude Podcast. This is the podcast where you go to find out how to become the person you want to become and how to get a roadmap on where you want to go. My name is Glenn Bill, international best-selling author and host of the Get Attitude Podcast. And today we have a unbelievable entrepreneur, an entrepreneur that came literally from nothing, started a business at 18 years old, now has 250 employees, tens of millions of dollars in revenue. And he is the president of Residential Warranty Services, one of the most influential people in the home warranty space in America. P. Nathan Thornberry is a part of 10% of all real estate transactions that happen in the United States of America. That is a huge freaking number. It is awesome to have you with us. P. Nathan, what's up? Welcome to the Get Attitude Podcast.
Good morning, Glenn. Although it could be afternoon for you watching. So good afternoon, Glenn. Wait.
It could be evening.
Good evening, Glenn.
Right. Thank you. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. Nathan, thanks for coming in here. We are focused in Season 2 on innovators and influencers. I want to talk to you about attitude, but one thing when I watch what you do is I do believe that you are somewhat of an innovator. And I'd like to know, what is your thought about innovation? What does it mean to you? And perhaps maybe what's like the most innovative thing that you've done in your business life?
Most innovative thing. Well, I think it's hard to be truly original these days because, you know, The Simpsons already did it.
Right.
There's nothing particularly innovative, I don't think, from the last 10 years. You know, what really came out that changed our lives? The cell phone? No. The computer? No. The pen? No. You know, what did we innovate? So now, you know, innovation has turned into how do you make processes better. In 2007, we started down the process of launching this product called Recall Check, and at the time there was nobody really checking for recalls functionally.
Right.
So that was, you know, an efficiency thing. How do you get information to the person at the right time in an actionable way? And that's what I think most innovation focuses on today.
And so if you are a real estate agent out there, I know you've seen Recall Check. I see it every freaking home that I do, and I'm sure everybody sees it. An innovative product. What was the biggest challenge when you said, number one, how'd you get the idea? We should really check warranties on appliances and everything that's possible. But how did you take that from an idea to now probably one of the most widely sought out products in the warranty and inspection services industry? Like, what was the process? What was the attitude? How did it work?
Well, I bought a house that I shouldn't have. It was large, and my father's a home inspector, and of course, you know, as an inspector of high-end homes, often he recognizes that none of them are maintained very well. You know,
right.
Like the bigger the house, just the worse you're going to be at that. And so anyway, I bought this big house, and the first thing I did as a 22-year-old or 21-year-old was I bought all these plasma televisions. That was a big thing at the time. You know, big
plasma.
Oh, they were giant. They were 42 inches.
Right.
You know, that was giant for a plasma, and plasmas would last forever. And so that was one thing that I wanted. But the other thing I really wanted, that I had always wanted, I know, you know, at 21, you've wanted something all your life, but it was a Bosch dishwasher. So I bought this Bosch dishwasher, and I went to that H.H. Gregg Fine Lines, which was like our local expensive appliance place, and I got my Bosch dishwasher, and it was cool and it was sexy, and I put it into this old Carmel house, this giant McMansion with big wood garage doors and a basement that would eventually flood 3 times, and one morning I wake up and my father, the home inspector who keeps up on these things, says, "Hey, what's the model number of that dishwasher?" And I read it off to him. He said, "Well, it's been recalled, and here's the reason. Here's how you get the free repair." And I'm like, "How did you know that?" And as it turns out, my old man had been collecting recall data for like a long time, but it wasn't really in a functional way to use it. He just happened to know that I had a Bosch dishwasher. Nobody else notified me. The manufacturer didn't notify me.
Right.
The account rep at H.H. Gregg Fine Lines, who we bought countless appliances from.
Right.
And as a warranty company, we bought thousands of appliances a year from this company. No notification, nothing. And as it turns out, nobody was being notified of these free repairs, of fire hazards, of things that are public record. They're known.
Right.
And there was a lot of reasons that they couldn't do that, and it had a lot to do with how their database is formatted and what their search function looks like. So we solved the problem.
Yeah, that's cool. And so back to an innovation thing. I think Gappers, as we listen to this and as we delve into Nathan, what he just explained was the process that each and every one of you should be thinking. What is the obvious problem that has not been solved? And then make it your business. Matt LeBlanc, you probably have no idea. I think
he was on Friends, right?
Was it? Or DuPont, maybe.
There was a
Joey.
LeBlanc, but he was Joey. No, that was Matt LeBlanc, right?
Yeah, it was Matt LeBlanc. Gosh darn, I forget his name. Here's the point. There was a goalie that invented the goalie mask. The goalie mask in hockey was not invented until 83 years into the sport. Now, wouldn't you think that after being hit in the face with a puck, somebody would have said, "We need to invent a goalie mask"? Wouldn't you think when it comes to home inspection services or appliances have been around for 80 years, 90 years, that somebody would have said, "We probably should create a system that's automated that gets recall check." And that's what you did, which is very, very cool. And it's a fantastic service for us realtors and for me as a real estate salesperson. Let's get into this thing called attitude. What is your definition of attitude, and who was your best attitude coach or your first attitude coach?
Oh man, I'm the worst guy for your podcast, I think.
It's okay.
Oh, because and I'm a big fan. I've had you come and talk to our leadership at our leadership day, and a lot of people need certain levels of attitude coaching. Like, hey, what is in the way of you getting shit done today?
Right.
I've never had that.
Okay.
And so for me, it's just always been mathematical. Like, I don't let sentiment get in the way of what I'm going to accomplish by the end of the day. And I think that so many people do. I think that holds a lot of people back.
That's good. And so, Nathan, not everybody's like me. Not everybody in our audience is go high, hard, personal development, yada, yada. Right. So a lot of people like you that are listening to this. And so when you say, "I'm not sure you should be on here," well, I got plenty of motivational speakers and marketing guys. And so you are important to our podcast, because you know what, there's a lot of people that are just like you, I'm sure, that are listening that go, "Shit, I don't know the definition of attitude." When you think about your thought process or your attitude, who influenced you most, and what did you learn from them?
Well, I know a bad attitude when I see it. Like that. It's easy to recognize when it's bad, and when you're having a bad day, you probably need to change something about that day, I suppose. Mm-hmm. Do something that has a positive outcome for you. You know, if you're beating your head against the wall on a project, just move on to the other one. You know, there's millions and millions of people out there. There's billions of people, but there's hundreds of millions of people in this country. There's lots of opportunity. Whatever you were working on that sucked, you know, you don't need to do that anymore.
Right. So move on from the things that are pulling you down. And go focus on what you can do, and then hire somebody to do those things, probably. Right. What does it feel like to have 250 employees?
Oh, it's grueling. And you called me president of the company. Actually, I'm not the president of the company anymore. I hired somebody to be president of the company.
That is true. David.
Yes, and you know, part of the thing that would drag me down in a day just because of time, this is just a simple matter of bandwidth, is how many people do you talk to in a day? And what do you say to them? And then time that.
Right.
Okay, because, you know, it's easy for people to say when they have, you know, 2 employees or 5 employees or 10 employees, oh yeah, you know, I know all my people really well, and we hang out and we have a beer every once in a while, and you know, I know their families and such. That is so easy to do at 10 people.
Right.
At 100 people, that dynamic is completely changed.
Right.
And at some point you have to go, all right, you know, I can't really be anybody's buddy, and I owe them better.
Sure.
So I need to focus on the things where I deliver for them, because what's going to make the biggest, you know, impact in their life? It's going to be a good paycheck, a solid company to work for, kids that they can pay the fee to send them to college rather than, you know, getting them loans for that. Those are all things that are going to make a difference to them. And then, you know, a positive work environment.
Right.
And if you're somebody like me who doesn't do positivity, who doesn't do motivation, who doesn't, you know, focus on things like the definition of attitude, for instance, you know, and just says, just do it. Whatever it is, just do it. What's wrong with you? You know, like, why are you stopping to think about it? Just do it.
Right.
If that's you, then you need to put somebody in place that understands that and understands that people need this.
So what is your gift? How did you do what you did, right? Like, what's your gift? I think one of your gifts is you recognize what maybe you're not great at and you hire it.
Oh, yeah.
But is there another gift? Is there another secret sauce that comes to you that you think you go, damn, you know what? I mean, with what you've done, there's got to be some secrets. There's got to be some lessons to share with our folks who are out there wanting to start their own business, grow their own business. What's your 1 or 2 rules that you live by?
Okay. One rule that I live by is, you know, I don't lie. You know, and there's a difference between like selling and lying. Like, hey, you can focus on the positives.
Right.
You know, but if you're out there lying about yourself, your product, your company, your people, whatever it is, then you now have to devote a certain amount of brain power to that lie. So if you don't lie, you always tell the truth, even if it is punishing to you, all the time.
Right.
You know, you just don't have to commit any brain power to remembering.
Yeah.
Right.
That's like freaking huge. Jason, I almost wonder if we should make that an attitude booster. Don't lie, because when you talk about lying, I mean, I never really even thought about that. When you talk about brain power, what does it take to cover up a lie?
Oh,
I mean, holy crap.
To live it.
And to live it. And a lot of people live in a lie 24/7.
Absolutely.
So gappers, the question is this: what are you lying about? What are you lying to yourself about? What are you lying to your people about? And are you living in a lie? And in my opinion, might be the best part of this podcast. I know that we don't think about it. People don't go, oh yeah, I'm lying. But take the time, gappers, right now to think about, shit, am I lying to myself? And what does that look like and what does it sound like? All right, give me some more stuff. Give me another one.
So, you know, I generally know that I've been brutally honest the last time I talked to you.
Yes.
So when you ask me a question, I give you a brutally honest answer again. They line up, right? If they've changed at all, it's because the facts have changed. But I also know that I didn't say no. Okay, now it doesn't mean I say yes.
Right.
But if I never say no, and somebody comes to me and says, you caused this problem and I asked you to fix it and you said no, I'm like, horseshit.
Right.
That did not happen.
Because I don't say no.
Right.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying I didn't tell you what you wanted to hear that day, but let's have a conversation about it where we're not accusatory, because that certainly was not my intent to say no.
And so this is Nathan Thornberry's entrepreneurial list. I love it. Don't lie. We can also make that a positive and say, always tell the truth. Don't say no. We can always say, well, I don't know how, because you say, I don't always say yes, which I find interesting, but you don't say no. You don't practice that. Is there one other nugget that you can give us when it comes to entrepreneurialism that you think's important?
If you don't have enough information to make a decision, then get more information. If you have enough information to make a decision, what the shit are you waiting for?
Right. Then make it.
Make the decision.
And then what do you say? Now, how does somebody know if they have enough information? Because there are plenty of entrepreneurs that go, I don't need information. I'm going. Right. Let's find the win.
Yeah.
How do you?
Well, and that may be enough information, by the way.
None.
You may know
Right.
you may know your market really well. You may know your business really well.
Mm-hmm.
I've certainly had somebody ask me a question, go, well, what's the answer to this? I give them the answer, go, how do you know that? I'm like, because I do.
Right.
If you want somebody with less knowledge, go talk to them.
In times of and look, you've been running a business for 30 years, right, or 25. Number one, has it ever gotten tough? Did you ever go?
Hold on, 23.
23 years.
Yeah, 23.
And did you ever, as you were building, go, oh crap, this may not work? I may want to close the doors, or did that never cross your mind when you were building what you were building?
Well, let's define what I was building. There's been things that didn't work out.
Right.
I had a construction company that I had to take through bankruptcy in 08, 09.
Right.
There's no two ways about it. There was no financing. There was no construction going on. It was done for. And
Right.
so, that was a failure. That hurts, by the way, when you start realizing, oh crap, this isn't working out.
Wow. And
here's these people that I'm going to let go of, and here's this corporate bankruptcy, which I kind of felt bad about, and
That's an attitude dumpster, not an attitude booster.
But it's a thing that's available in this country.
Sure.
And it's not available in all other countries.
Right.
And it actually helps our capitalism.
Right.
You know what the first thing that happens to people after they go through a bankruptcy, and I've never done a personal bankruptcy or had been in that position, luckily, but if you go through a bankruptcy, personal or corporate, first thing that happens, the first piece of mail you get, you know what it is?
I do not.
Credit card offers. You're back at it.
No kidding.
Oh yeah.
So you go through bankruptcy, and then the banks line up and go, let's go.
Yes.
Because this guy will borrow as much as he possibly can.
Well, I guess they know that you're a consumer of it. But now you're definitely in a different position. You're going to pay a little bit higher interest, but
You are a real estate investor. You have holdings, I believe, in several different states. Number one, I want to know what's your thought on building wealth through real estate. Number two, this is fun. What's the biggest loan you ever signed for?
Ooh, biggest loan? Well, I've been debt free for a long time.
Yes.
Other than a mortgage on a couple of properties. So yeah, there's only two. I have two mortgages left.
Wow.
One on a commercial building, and that's about a $1.5 million on a $3.2 million building. So that's pretty decent.
Good loan to value.
Under 50% LTV, not bad at 40. And then my house, I'm about a 30% LTV loan
good
at this point, and not terrible.
I didn't. I know you've invested in large commercial projects.
I did some development a long time ago, and I was not particularly good at it. Yes, I lost money on those. I put some money into it. Yeah,
right.
I ended up with. I had a piece of land still that it took me 10 years to sell after
Oh my
2008.
gosh. Yeah, that's brutal. And you paid on it for 10 years?
Yes.
120 payments.
Well, I didn't have any payments, but I had
equity tied up.
I had equity tied up. I had insurance and taxes. Yeah.
What's the biggest mistake you see entrepreneurs make?
Well, if they don't have anything proprietary, they try to suggest that they have something proprietary. And they're kind of lying to their clients about it, and they use keywords to do it, and people are so over it, right?
And those keywords would be
things like value,
right?
Yeah,
game changer.
Oh yes. Oh, they're interrupting or they're what's the
disruptor?
They're disrupting. Yes. Oh, check out this disruptive thing. It's like, no, you're not disrupting anything.
So when you say they don't have something proprietary, what does proprietary really mean?
Okay. Well, it has to be something that most of the market can't say. Not won't say, not you think that you're better at something and you saying it makes it true, because it doesn't.
Right.
Like, I'm better at this, so and I care more, and I'm going to answer my phone. That part actually, that one's something right now. Answering your phone, communicating with clients counts. And the more you do that, the more you are available for that, the less you make excuses like, oh, it's family time.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Come on, really? Right.
There are a lot of people that will talk to you about work-life balance. And the easiest thing for a consultant to tell you to do is, raise your prices, charge what you're worth, take time off. You're paying for that shit?
Right, exactly.
Like that should not be the
that is not
advice that you
proprietary.
pay for.
Right.
No.
That is not proprietary.
No, not at all.
When you think about your value prop to the real estate community, what is your proprietary?
Well, we're involved in a lot of transactions, as you mentioned.
Yeah. How many is that? 10%? How many transactions occur in America?
Well,
roughly, is it?
Last month we did about 160,000 transactions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So there was probably 1.6 million transactions going on.
No, that's our piece, right?
Right.
So overall number of transactions this year, I think we're going to probably end the year at 6.5.
Right.
Yeah.
So back to
these are residential transactions.
So your proprietary mantra or slogan is, we're involved in 1 out of every 10 transactions.
No, we never advertise that.
Right.
What's proprietary about what we do is that we can deliver a real estate transaction where your client doesn't have the risk of moving in and having a sewer line collapse and having to pay for it.
Right.
So if you are sloppy as a real estate agent and you refer just anybody, or you refer a guy because you like him,
He took me out and got me drunk last night.
Yeah. We drink at the same bar. We belong to the Kiwanis Club, and if you handle the professionals in your real estate transaction like you hope people handle you, right? They're referring you because you're close, because you have something in common. And sphere marketing is definitely something that has worked in real estate. And I'm not bashing it. I'm just saying that with your vendors, you should not have that mentality. When it comes to the actual results for your people, no.
Right.
So, we set up things where, about one in every, about 15% now, probably 15% of home inspectors throughout the U.S. offer a sewer line policy that we underwrite, that solves for this issue. So when your client moves in and they have this problem, they're not out thousands of dollars.
Yes. I sell a lot of older homes, a lot of them, 100 a year, roughly, or more. And my past 5 transactions, because, it's all about the sewer line now. Everybody's gotten smart and they're getting sewer cams, and, now we got an offset, but the water still flows, and this isn't a big deal. Literally. Sewer Guard has saved my sellers $5,000 of unnecessary repairs because of what you provide. And I am your customer. And for any realtor out there listening, for any homeowner out there listening, you should go to Residential Warranty Services website. You should, Sewer Guard's free, by the way, to my clients. So to me, innovative product. To me, lessens risk. To me, saves my sellers money. To me, makes me money because it helps me close deals.
And we're changing the conversation around those sewer lines now.
Yeah.
So it was, okay, let's get the sewer camera inspection. Well, now we got to talk about whether that little thing that we see is something that we ask the seller to fix. And if the seller is being told by their experts, their professionals, that it's not something that needs to be fixed right now.
Yeah.
Well, now it's just an argument point.
Right.
If you have a professional saying that and you have inspection by the right guy, it's no longer an argument.
Right.
Go to close.
Right.
You know?
Go get your money. Let's talk. I'm pretty sure you're a student. I'd love to know, like, entrepreneurial wise, business wise, or even just in your personal life, like, who are your mentors? Who are the, I don't want to say idols, but who are the people that you look to and learn from, whether it's a Steve Jobs or a Richard Branson or whatever, and what did you learn from them?
Well, you have to give Patty and Phil Thornberry credit first, right?
Yeah.
But beyond them, I would say anybody who's made enormous mistakes. Those are the ones that you should look to so you can learn a little bit. Mm-hmm. And if you... I will not say take a deeper dive, because that's another thing you should never say. But if you were to look into the history of some of these folks, you would find that the reason they make so many mistakes is because they try so many things.
Yeah, right. So Phil and Patty are your parents. I'd love to just know, what's the attitude lesson that Phil's given you and the attitude lesson that Patty's given you?
Well, two very different mentalities, right? I mean, Phil's the nice guy, and he's gonna, bring the parties together and have them talk it out. And Patty's gonna tell him, get back to work. Like, what the hell are we even talking about here?
Right. Right. So, so the lessons would be, hey, you can negotiate things or you can work through things, maybe from both of them. One of the questions that we get into with a lot of our guests are, because I think there are great lessons to be learned from grandparents. Did you know your grandparents? If you did, I'd love to know what they did, and maybe what was the greatest lesson you learned from one of the four or two of the four. And I want to know their names. This is something that we get into, and God, the lessons that come from people's grandparents are amazing.
I knew my grandfather on my mother's side for a short time. He died when I was pretty young.
Okay.
My mother's mother, I don't know her name. I've never met her.
Wow.
My grandmother on my father's side, she's deceased now. She was just a wonderful lady. Loved art, and had a house with just cool stuff in it. Cool old books and whatever. She was a classic lady. Then there was my grandfather, and that was the entrepreneur that I would hang out with occasionally. Cool. Who had a steakhouse, had it at 3 different steakhouses.
Did he? In Indy or?
In Indy, yeah.
Would I know what they were?
Well, there was the Bonanza on Keystone.
Oh my gosh. He owned the Bonanza on Keystone?
The Bonanza on Keystone. There was another something somewhere along the lines, and then there was Don Thornberry's steak place. I remember that. Which is where the Cancun is now on Rangeline Road.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is where my parents met. But later on in life, he became a real estate agent, and one that sold a lot of real estate.
What was his name?
Don Thornberry.
Don Thornberry. Yeah. And he was a realtor.
He was.
So, any lessons that I would have to think owning a restaurant's got to be one of the worst business decisions or careers ever. Any good stories about owning a restaurant, or any lesson that you learned about owning a restaurant?
We didn't talk about that stuff nearly as much as we talked about real estate.
Yeah, cool. What's the best real estate advice he ever gave you, or the best sales advice he ever gave you?
Well, we'll bring up a major brand in real estate.
Yes.
Remax.
Uh-huh.
Okay, he was a Remax agent from...
Oh, I totally remember that, yeah.
From the time he left our local brand, FC Tucker, to the time he died, he was a Remax agent. And at one point, as a 18-year-old with a chip on my shoulder that just got his real estate license, because that's what you do as a Thornberry.
Right.
I asked him, you do $30 million a year in sales.
Yeah, in 1980.
That was in 2000,
Yeah.
2002.
Wow.
Now these were generally broad listing packages with builders and that sort of thing.
Sure.
But I said, why do you do this with Remax? Like, why not start your own thing? Just Don Thornberry's whatever, real estate palace, whatever.
Right.
And he said, that Remax name, it makes a difference. And at this point, I don't really want to run anything here. And at the time, it was Tom Lazzara that was his broker.
Oh yeah.
And then he ended up working with Judy Cohen and Mitchell Cox, right?
Yeah.
10315 North Allisonville Road office,
right?
With Remax Preferred, and then that didn't work out, and then I think that was gone pretty quick.
Yeah. Randy Keys was in that office, if I remember.
I think Randy Keys was in that office a long time ago, though.
Okay,
right?
before,
Right.
yeah.
Way before. Yeah, he left. But yeah, so I definitely spent some time with Don and going by title companies and golfing and also enjoying life a little bit.
You, what I see, and again, I stand back and watch what you do. COVID hit, definitely changed the paradigm. But you're you run some pretty big ass events, some awesome events. You know how to do it. What's your thought? Are you going to go back to what you did? Are you going to modify? And what's your whole thought on how do we emerge from the pandemic?
Well, okay, so I'm sure that some people read my social media posts and think I'm, a Trump thumper or whatever.
Right.
But I'm really not. Here's what you notice when you have hundreds of employees.
Right.
You notice which ones are sick. Mm-hmm. Which ones have been affected, how they've been affected, and there's no doubt that people have experienced death in this country. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt that that's sad every single time. As far as having direct access to people's lives as an employer, we just didn't see anything that was over the top. I mean, we didn't have, luckily, maybe luckily,
right.
Maybe just it was statistically a huge exception to have tragedy,
right.
But we didn't have any. We didn't have people getting sick with any regularity. We did not stop holding events. We got people traveling. We even had in 2020, we had hundreds of people come to Indianapolis
right.
for an event. Now we had to do it differently. We had hotels telling us that we couldn't hold an event like we wanted to, that we would have to limit number of people in a room and all of those sorts of things. And again, it's not like we're trying to kill anybody. They're our clients. It's definitely not in our best interest to kill them.
Right.
And by the way, when at this particular event, most of them were home inspectors. Home inspectors are not spring chickens generally.
Right.
So,
There was some risk, but you did it.
There was a thought,
right?
Yeah, like maybe this wouldn't go great, but we gave people the option: wear a mask. Here's hand sanitizers everywhere. But we rented out the entire hotel, so that we didn't have all of the overbearing rules and regulations and things that just don't make sense. Mm-hmm. I don't think that there's anybody in this country that thinks that every rule and regulation around this makes sense.
Right. Right. What's your thought for business owners on emerging from the pandemic, right? I mean, there's people get caught up in it, and I have a feeling I may know your answer, but we got business owners and we got entrepreneurs listening to you. What's your advice to them as we get out of this thing? What's the best business advice you could give them?
Let's assume that nobody in the billionaire class is listening to this podcast right now.
Right.
All right, let's just start with that.
But we know that's not true.
Well,
billionaires, what's up? All right, go ahead.
Well, billionaires.
We've interviewed a few.
I mean, I don't know what your policy is on language on this show. Is this
We're
show
okay? Yeah,
it's
good.
okay.
Yeah.
So if you're a billionaire, if you own your market, if you are, the giant in your market space, you've done well. But from here on, you might be a little fucked.
And that is because of why?
Well, okay, so let me just take from my perspective in a little niche we've carved out for ourselves in the home service contract and home warranty space. Well, we're like 2%, 3% of the market.
Right.
If the number of transactions in our industry, real estate, goes down by 20 or 30%,
right.
Well, that could hit us none at all. All we have to do is go from 3% of the market to 5% of the market.
Yes.
And not only are we good, we've grown a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And when the market comes screaming back, as it always does, we're well positioned.
Yeah. Well, you got 2% more market share now.
Right.
Right.
But if I was Front Door and American Home Shield, and I have 25% of the market.
Right.
Well, there's nowhere to go from there.
Mm-hmm.
You've been losing the real estate market over time, and now you're focused on this direct-to-consumer market. I think that runs out. I think that runway is getting shorter by the day.
In all businesses, really.
In some.
Yeah.
When you're the Goliath,
right.
You got to be really innovative. Now you got to figure out what else do you offer people, not just to be, a salesperson for something else. What else do you offer that can expand your revenue opportunities? Because at some point you just don't have anywhere else to go in terms of number of clients. But for most entrepreneurs, myself included, we're the little guy.
Yeah.
I'm still the little guy.
Right.
I'm at 3% of the market on the home service contract side, where we, the warranties we sell at closing. 10% of the real estate market in some facet. There's so much opportunity.
Right.
We got 90 to 97% of the market left
to come and get.
Yeah.
And so I think, Nathan's message is, even though you may feel small and even though you're not a billionaire, the opportunity really is now more than ever the position for you to grow the scalability through the internet, through technology, through innovation. Advertising's free now. I mean, it's crazy. If you are a social media person, do I get into social media? Do I not? Guys, social media is free. How do you not do it? Do you have a social media strategy for your company?
Well, we do. I think everybody does the normal, here's our Merry Christmas post,
right.
like that sort of stuff. But we get very, involved. We have people, including myself, who are responding directly to clients every single day, who are responding to people in our industry, real estate, home inspection, etc. And we're in those groups, and we're not only following those groups, we are involved. We're writing messages within them, being a part of the conversation.
I went through your call center, and I was like, jaw drop, wow. There may be people that run call centers, that work in call centers, or are thinking about starting a call center. Give me the business philosophy of a call center from maybe all three of those perspectives. Guys, when I started my call center, big mistake. The biggest mistakes you made. What's our philosophy in the call center? How do you manage it? How do you train it? Let's just delve into that quick business facet.
So our call center I would put in the same category as our design and print services. The only reason a call center makes sense from our business is because of all the other things that we do.
Okay.
If we didn't have those things, we wouldn't be in the call center business, and we wouldn't be profitable in the call center business either. So by working with a bunch of clients that all have in common, here's
the same request, I guess.
Same kind of request, same kind of business model. So we deal with an inspector in Charleston, South Carolina, who has the same package of warranties, that sewer guard coverage, the 5-year roof leak protection, all the things that you're experiencing here in Indianapolis. We have somebody in Charleston doing that as well.
Right.
So when we take both companies and we say, all right, you answer your phones most of the time, but we'll take your rollover calls so that you don't miss one.
Wow.
It's so that we can make sure that they're getting more business. So it's a support of our clients thing. But it's also really easy for us to do because we only have to teach the folks on the phone one message.
Right.
They got one script for how to deal with client requests, for what makes us different as a home inspection company. It's one script.
Right. Go.
So we're able to do it very efficiently and keep a call center alive here in the U.S. And they are getting more difficult to run for most. Again, it wouldn't make sense for us if it wasn't a support of our core business.
Interesting.
And support of our clients.
Did you ever make a big mistake with the call center?
Oh man, so many. It took me 10 years to find a manager that was decent. And so many of our clients lived through that pain.
Yes.
I mean, we did fine. The whole time people would still rather their phones be answered than not.
Sure.
They'd rather get in order than not. But the training level, the responsiveness from those managers, we didn't get that really down until a guy named Aaron Hall took over the call center.
Okay.
He actually came from a sales department.
Right.
We sell an abundant number of home alarm systems, and so he moved from that department over to run the call center and really got it into shape, and then put in place management, and then he went on to another department. So,
there you go.
Yeah.
So the biggest mistake is hiring the wrong person to run your call center, and the biggest success is finding the right person to run your call center.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Pretty easy advice. So we're going to go ahead and conclude our gap. Nathan, you've been great. I appreciate all the insight, all the lessons. I think you've given people a lot to think about, but as we do on every podcast, we're going to do this thing called Knowledge Through the Decades.
Okay.
I know this could be maybe terribly hard for you, but you know what? We can edit it.
Is it a decade that I was alive?
So here's the thing. We just want you to speak from your head, from your heart, off the top. And what we do is we ask what the attitude lesson is from 0, from birth, which you may or may not remember. But what is the attitude lesson of birth or
Get out of there.
beginning? Get out of there, baby. That's good. We haven't had that answer. I actually kind of like that one. So
what's your escape plan?
What is your escape plan? I love that. You know what? I'm going to let that stand, because that possibly is one of the better answers we've ever had when it comes to the attitude lesson of birth. Get out of there, and what is your escape plan?
All right. So what's the next
So
one?
that's good. So Gappers, I want you to just reflect and think about this, because this is so good. What is it that you need to get out of? What is it that you need to escape from? We've asked several great questions during this podcast, but perhaps this might actually be one of the best ones. What's holding you back? What's holding you down?
It's
It's
a uterus.
It's a uterus.
It's
That is
a
holding
uterine
you.
wall.
Right.
It's between you and the rest of the world.
All right, I like it. Jason's laughing. I love this. All right, so the next thing is 10 years old. I want you to think about when you were 10 and what was the attitude lesson for you at 10? Maybe, well, I don't know. I think you can probably come up with it. You were 3rd or 4th grade. What do you remember about it that maybe shaped you? Was there a story, an incident, whatever?
Well, that was when I moved. I moved from Carmel to Noblesville. So there was certainly a forced learning a new place, forced making new friends, etc.
Right.
So I would say at 10, being open to the possibilities.
Yeah, the attitude lesson, and that's a lot for a young guy, right?
Yeah.
When you think about being 10 and being forced to move, being displaced from comfort into from certainty to uncertainty, what's your advice for people? Because there's people that are 40 that are changing careers, changing jobs. What's the best way to cope with moving from certainty to uncertainty, or going somewhere that you haven't been before? What would your advice be?
Well, just remember that everybody there, they're largely locals. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't move. Most people don't go from one environment to another.
Right.
So when you're the one that has been displaced, well, all eyes are on you. So take advantage of that
and go with it. Interesting. All right. So then you turn 20. You're 2 years into the entrepreneurial game, right? I think you started your business at 18, if I remember.
Took it over, but yes.
Okay, took it over. So what's your attitude lesson for the people when you were 20?
Look around you. There are a lot of idiots, and you don't want to be one of them.
Right. I love it.
So I didn't wear jeans until I was 26. I didn't enjoy a cocktail until I was probably 25 or 26.
Wow.
And then it was like, tonic and a vodka tonic or something, just a little play drink, like a kiddie drink.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But that was because I was always working.
Right.
I wasn't hang out with people, and I never did beer pong. It looks like a stupid game to me,
right?
But people seem to enjoy it.
Yeah,
I feel like they don't have a lot going on in their lives,
right?
Anyway, so stay away from that.
Yeah.
Focus, because what you do from 20 to 30,
love this, is
going to that nobody else is willing to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to have a huge return for you. And so if you're listening to this and you're like 40 and you're just now figuring it out, that sucks.
Right. Sorry, you're 20.
I don't know how you catch up.
Yeah.
You just don't. Buy a lottery ticket. It might work out.
And man, what an important lesson that is, because we have millennials that are listening to it. Thank God my sons and my daughter pushed this out to their group. But the gains from 20 to 30, if you're focused, if you stay away from the idiots, the returns are incredible. As I was, as you were, we both started at 18, 19, 20. And I think about what I did in that decade, and I probably played a lot more than you, but gosh, I'm still reaping rewards 30 years later from that. So guys, if you're in your 20s, get off your ass and get going. Me and Nathan did it, and you can too.
Well, and if you look serious from 20 to 30, not just look serious, if you are serious and you deliver, the kind of people that you're going to be hanging out with, the kind of people that are going to be relying on you are, the people that are 10 and 15 years older than you.
Yes.
That, have money. They're not kids that just graduated from college, have nothing.
Right.
And those are going to become long-term business relationships. Those people have arrived.
Right.
And they have a business that works. They can pay their bills.
Right.
They're only going to get bigger and better with time. So there are people that I met when they were 35 that today are 50, and they're the big dogs in their market.
Oh yeah.
They're doing millions and millions of dollars as local service companies, and they still know who they can rely on.
You're killing it. You're just killing knowledge through the decades. I love this. Speaking of people who are big dogs now, or what, I know you've hired famous people. I know that you probably run around some who's like the most famous person you met? Was there a lesson learned, or who was the person you were in awe? Just looking for a story of where you're like, God dang, I can't believe I just freaking interacted with this person.
By the way, was the hockey player you mentioned earlier, were you trying to say Lemieux?
No, it wasn't Mario Lemieux. I forget that. Jason can Google it.
Who invented the hockey mask?
Right there. Jacques Plante. There you go. I love you, Jason. Very good. 1959, invented it. In 1959, mind you, that hockey, I believe, started like in 1900. So for 60 years, people were getting smacked in the face with a hockey puck, right? This is Jeffrey Gitomer's thing that he likes to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, there are obvious things going on in our life and in our world and in our markets today. All we need to do is find the obvious. Yeah. Look around, find the obvious, capitalize on it. And that's what Jacques did. He said,
Jacques Plante.
A goalie mask. What a novel idea. I won't get smacked in my face anymore and break my nose. Jason, awesome job on the production end. All right, let's go to 30.
Sure.
Where were you at 30? Do you remember your 30th birthday? And what was the attitude lesson for you at 30?
I don't do birthdays. So, no. There was no... How's that funny?
Every time I ask you questions, you always come up with answers that I never hear. So that's good. All right, cool. You don't do birthdays, but 30, what was your attitude
I don't
lesson?
do dates.
Right.
In general.
Okay.
I know what's happening in the next 2 days, and that's it.
Cool.
Anything beyond that has to be like, maybe we're planning an event or whatnot, but I don't see it on the schedule until really nearby.
Nice.
And I certainly do not want my birthday on there.
Right.
One time somebody had a birthday, twice somebody had a birthday party for me.
And you said no.
No, it's just awkward. It's like you feel like a cancer patient.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want that that like they're bringing you gifts, like, oh, sorry, you're older, you're almost dead now. No, don't do that.
All right, well, let's go.
So at 30, I don't think there was.
Think about just think about that.
You know what? In your 30s, if you did, if you procreated.
Right.
I'd say your mindset shifts a lot in your 30s because now your kids, they're not just, cute kids.
Yeah.
They're accomplishing things. And so now you get to start living your life through them a little bit.
Yeah, that's cool. So procreation's a great attitude lesson for parents out there. I met your 2 sons, great guys.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed meeting them. They're very, very cool.
So from like 30 to 35, maybe even 40, depending on when you started down that path.
Right.
They go from cute to okay. These are your kids.
Right.
This is the future. And then at some point, they get horrible if they're boys and they're teenagers. I don't think there's an exception to that.
Yeah.
I think I might have been a little bit of one, but you'd have to ask my parents.
I think Patty would definitely say that would be the case.
Yeah.
But she loved you, and that's what love's all about. So now, I know you're not 50.
No.
But you might be knocking on the door. Maybe.
I'm 40.
You are 40. So good. We can finish it up with 40. Tell us what the attitude lesson is of your now, right? You're 40. What's the attitude lesson of the present? And what's your hope? What advice will you give the people that are sitting there that have been kind enough to listen to us for the past 43 minutes? What's the message you want to give to the people about attitude lesson of 40 and about hope for the future and what they can learn from P. Nathan Thornberry?
At 40, you're at an intersection where there are people 20 years older than you that you can see yourself as. And there are people 20 years younger than you that you can see yourself as.
Wow.
Right? I mean, like, this is the time where you can connect with those two.
Cool.
Probably better than any other time in your life.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's good. Any hope, any message of hope or any just personal thing that you'd want to talk to the person on the other end of the speaker when it comes to attitude or your belief in them or just any message? Like, here's what I'd want to know. In times of great stress and in times of decision making, when big decisions need to be made, do you ask yourself a question, and what is it?
What does the other person think? What do they perceive? I mean, that makes a difference.
I like it.
So, like, for instance, in your mission, and we kind of start with the mission of, pay for shit,
right?
like get a nice car or get a house or whatever. Then your mission turns into paying for your kids' stuff. Maybe your mission, if you're an entrepreneur, is to start a business, to own something, to have something that is truly yours. Then it turns into the mission of hiring and employing people and providing for them. Then maybe your mission turns into moving a market or influencing some things.
Right.
Hopefully you get to that point because you're lucky then.
Or changing the world one attitude at a time.
Yeah,
which is what we're doing. And I want to thank you, Nathan Thornberry, for helping me and our gappers and Jason change the world one attitude at a time. This was fun. I hope you had a good time.
Indeed.
Fantastic. All right, guys. Well, P. Nathan Thornberry, you need to check him out. Follow him on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. Well, you can probably look him up. You got some pretty funny Twitter stuff.
Oh, look.
There he is right there.
Yeah, there I am.
There he is. Is that your Twitter account?
No, this looks like Facebook. This is my
Facebook
account.
Yeah, Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, follow him. If you are looking for a job, Nathan's a pretty damn good employer. Go to Residential Warranty Services. They are looking for talented people.
rwscareers.com.
rwscareers.com. Let's get some guys with some attitude knocking on his door. Let's get him some unreal employees. If you're looking for a job, guys, I'm telling you, all you got to do is look them up. This is Glenn Bill signing off on the Get Attitude Podcast.